Apparently once was not enough, so I'm here to torture you again with my awkwardness. Welcome back to Craftasaurus Rex Creations, the show where I make crap and try not to wreck it. Today I'm going to be taking a dress that I've had for a long time that I don't generally wear, and I'm going to turn it into a skirt because this dress sucks and I'd rather have a skirt. I'll do the obligatory before and after shots. And yeah, let's get started. Now I'll give it to you. This dress isn't all bad. I mean, I like the color. I really like the skirt part. I'll probably use part of the top for another project later. But honestly, I don't like this dress. I don't think it looks good on me. What's with that bit in the middle? I think that just makes anybody look frumpy. And yep, it's gotta go. It's gotta go. So the things you'll need to do this are a dress that you want to take the skirt off to make a skirt. That sounds really dumb, but that's exactly what you're doing. You'll also need some white elastic. Make sure it's pretty because it's going to be exposed. You'll also need scissors. At this point, I'm using my 5-year-old scissors because they're sharper than my scissors. So, yep, professional crafter over here. Regrettably, you'll also need a seam ripper. Seam ripping sucks, but that's where we're at. You'll also need pins and a sewing machine. So the first thing you have to do is seam rip the skirt from the bodice of your dress. Now, if you have enough fabric that you don't need to seam rip, and it just by cutting it off, you'll still have enough fabric for your skirt to be the length you want it to be, do that. Because seam ripping is awful. It takes for freaking ever. Especially if your dress is like mine, where they not only stitched the 2 layers together, but then they overlocked them together or serged them together. Whichever term you prefer. I don't really care. Point is, I had to do double the seam ripping. So after you're done seam ripping, you're going to cut your elastic for your waistband. So take your measuring tape, measure your waist. Just kidding. Measuring is for noobs. Actually, that's horrible advice. Measuring is not for noobs, but in this case, you don't need to measure. Just take your elastic and pull it snugly around your waist. Don't stretch your elastic a ton, but make sure that it's snug. And then cut this length off. So at this point I was looking at my skirt that I had seam ripped off the bodice, and apparently this fabric is really sensitive to being stretched, and so it was kind of getting runs in it like you would find in pantyhose, which is bad. You don't want runs in your dress. That would suck. I mean, I don't want runs in your pantyhose, but runs in a dress I think would be worse. Just saying. So I decided that the best thing I could do to the edge of my skirt before I added the elastic was to serge it. problem is, I don't own a serger. So I figure, well, Cletis can do anything. So I will do a fake serge on the edge here. What should we call that? Furging? Fauverlock? Fauverlocking. Holy crap, I just came up with a new word. Fauverlocking. It's like fake overlocking, faux overlocking, fauverlocking. Get it? Oh my gosh, I feel so clever right now. Fauverlocking. I don't know if someone's come up with that before, but I'm really pleased with myself right now. Feel kind of like a genius. In order to fauverlock the edge of my skirt, I am going to set my machine to the widest, longest zigzag stitch it can do. I'm going to do this zigzag all the way around the edge of the top of my skirt, making sure that the needle goes off the edge of the skirt. So the needle's only going to go into the skirt on the left side of the zigzag, not on the right side. After I do the zigzag around the edge, I'm going to set my machine to a medium length straight stitch and do that over the very edge of the zigzag stitch. So the left side of the zigzag stitch, I'm going to do a straight stitch over that all the way around. So at this point, the top of your skirt should look something like this. Now, if your skirt won't unravel or won't stretch weird like mine does, so if you're using like jersey, which is like t-shirt fabric or something along those lines, skip this step. You don't need to do it. No fauverlocking for you. Now we are going to take our elastic and sew our elastic into a loop. To do this, we're going to take our elastic, which has an obvious wrong side and right side. Not all elastic will have this, but mine obviously does. There's a shiny side that goes on the outside, and then there's a blacker side, or a duller side. Like shiny, dull, I guess are opposites, right? And I'm going to sew a straight stitch up and down my elastic. After that, I'm going to trim these little flaps so they're even, and then I'm going to open them up and sew them down. At this point, we are going to quarter both the top of the skirt and the top of the waistband. To do this, start by putting a pin in the seam of either the waistband of the skirt or the elastic waistband. Then you're going to take this and pull it to the end and flatten out your skirt or your elastic so that you can put a pin in the other end, which will be exactly halfway across. Then you're going to take these two pins and put them one on top of the other so that you can put pins on either end of either the waistband or the elastic, whichever one you're working on. It's going to be the same on both items. Now you're going to take your skirt and your waistband, which have been quartered with pins, and you're going to pin them together. Make sure you leave about 1/4 of an inch of the waistband sticking up over the edge of the skirt while you're pinning. You're going to take the pin in the seam where the back of the skirt is, and you're going to match it up with the seam in your waistband. Now your skirt should be right side out when you do this. Your waistband should be inside out, and you're going to be pinning the waistband inside of the skirt. So, waistband, inside out. So, dull side facing you. Skirt, right side out. Put your waistband inside of your skirt. Just watch the video, like seriously, it shows you what to do. Now you're just going to match the pins all the way around, making sure each set of pins is pinned together one on top of the other. Now it's time to sew. Now, a lot of people, when they work with elastic and stretchy stuff like that, use zigzag stitches because it stretches. In this case, I'm not going to do that. Now, before you go, Liz, oh no, don't do that. Why? Let me explain. Because I'm going to be stretching the elastic as I sew, if I use a straight stitch here, it's not going to break when the elastic is stretched because the straight stitch has already been stretched to the full extent of the elastic. No breakage, no problem. Got it? Got it. If you want to use a zigzag stitch, be my guest. I think straight stitches look nicer. Personal preferences here, people. Anyway, so now you're going to sew a straight stitch all the way around the skirt, stretching the elastic as you go so that the skirt and the elastic lay flat one on top of the other. Now you should have something that looks like this. Here's where the magic happens. We're going to take the elastic and flip it up. Voila! Check that out. Right? Am I right? Pretty cool, eh? Eh? So at this point, the last thing you need to do is take your skirt back to your machine and sew a straight stitch all around the bottom of the elastic again, stretching the elastic as you go so that the skirt isn't getting bunched up underneath. Make sure the skirt is laying smooth and that nothing is bunched or crumpled or getting sewn down that shouldn't be, because that would suck. And then you'd have to seam rip some more, which would be so fun. So now, all there's left to do is see how it turned out. And that's it, guys. My skirt turned out super cute. I'm super pleased with it. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and so yeah, I'll see you next time when I make more crap. Bye!